Hello, I'm Novelette and welcome to Morgen Talk. My guest today, Kendrick Kim, is an adjunct professor at community colleges and vocational colleges throughout Orange County. Today we talk a little bit about race, gender, and trends in real estate. Please stay tuned. Hi Kendrick, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thanks. It's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again too.
So Kendrick, you are a professor. You teach at several local colleges in Orange County, yes?
Orange County, LA County areas.
So you're teaching mostly business classes around real estate and psychology, things of that sort, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious. I know you have a mix of students right now, not just millennials, but also maybe second career students coming in. What is the trend right now as what you see amongst your students? Are they optimistic about the industry? Are they kind of jarred? What's happening right now?
Well, it's really interesting you say that. I've been teaching real estate since 2014
Mhm.
at many different colleges. And the common theme with the students, no matter what age demographic, whether you're 18 or you're a baby boomer trying to get a second career, the perception of real estate is what you see on TV. The Property Brothers, flip that house, $1 million listing. They have those perceptions that you see on media, and they come to the class year after year thinking that it's going to be a get rich quick type of deal. Like they're going to all of a sudden have $1 million. A lot of students don't realize the reality of a lot of work you have to put in and the potential of not making money your first 2 years, maybe, depending on the market and the down cycle, right? And, over the years, there's been a lot of YouTube videos on real estate investment, and a lot of students keep getting caught up on those type of YouTube videos and quick rich schemes and things like that. There's a lot of nuances behind real estate investment. You can't just go to a 1 hour seminar and think you're an investor and an expert. And I think a lot of students have those type of idea because of the access to information on YouTube and everywhere else, Google. But when they come through my class, I think they get a little bit of centered reality of what the business would be like and how important it is to start networking now, not when you're networking in the field. A lot of the students, whether old and young, they seem to think that because I'm a student, I'm going to do my real estate classes first, and I'm not going to go out there and reach out to other real estate professionals and maybe talk to them and get an idea of what the business is like or any of that. It's almost like I have to force them. Um, this pandemic has not really changed in a way. Um, During the pandemic, real estate students have always been interested in, okay, well, how can we navigate through this pandemic environment? So during that time, in the early years of 2020, the California Association of Realtors, they put out a lot of documents, policies and procedures and little notices on how to do business, right? And it was thanks to, Governor Newsom. He said that we're considered essential workers in real estate. So because of that, real estate agents were able to still do business, but with proper protocols. So with the CDC guidelines, California Association of Realtors put in like little documents and notices that we could use, like no entry without mask. Um, little documents that give them warning that, hey, if you are entering this property knowing that this is COVID-19 time, you are releasing liability if you catch it by entering the premises and viewing the property. Um, but real estate has always been consistent in terms of whether we're in a pandemic or not, there's still a way to do business. And I think students see that. But at the same time, with this pandemic, it also brought in a lot of economic disparities and concerns of a lot of family households that, how am I going to make money? Paycheck's not coming. How do I file unemployment? So the past year, as an instructor, instructors don't have to do this, professors don't have to do this, but finding resources and information and links for those students to talk about getting unemployment insurance. What are some of the real estate documents that we're using now in practice? How to show property in a pandemic time. Uh, since 2021, as we noticed that there's a rollout of the vaccine and a new presidential administration and some sort of you know, certainty of where we're going with the pandemic, COVID vaccines and everything else, a lot of students have sort of calmed down, right? But even with that disparity and concerns of basic food, basic needs, the students have always been interested in real estate because that is sort of like the American dream. And it's really interesting how real estate is equated with the American dream. So students have this high hope, right? I don't discourage students from getting into it, but I kind of bring them down to earth that you're not going to get that $1 million listing. What you see on, you know, Discovery Channel and Flip My House and those dramatized TV shows about real estate, it's not reality. It's for dramatic purposes. The New York $1 million listing, no one talks to clients like that. If you see on the episodes there, right? It's impossible. You probably won't do business if you talk to your clients like that. It's not reality. So students get that. But I think no matter what age demographic is, whether you're 18 or 60 years old, the students have high hopes in real estate because they see that as an opportunity. And even with the pandemic, I still think that with the information that they could get from the website or even sample COVID-19 forms that are implemented in our practice, at least it gives them guidance and help. I think they're very impatient because applying for the license, they have certainly been backlogged. Some students that applied for their license in December are starting to get their license exam date this year. So I could only imagine the students that just completed spring semester, which was back in late May, and they're applying for their license exam, how much of a backlog are they doing? I think that backlog will kind of be caught up by the end of the year, only because we are starting to reopen California officially, I believe June 19th.
June 15th, yes.
So when that happens, and then we start having less than, we're starting having more people in the exam sites instead of social distancing, but exam sites and more people vaccinated, I think we'll catch up with the backlog.
Do you think as some of your students were coming close now to finishing school to actually go out and prepare to take their license, do they seem to be a bit more optimistic, or would you say pessimistic as far as moving forward, knowing the reality of being in this business?
I think the young students are excited about the technological tools now. I think if they're going to school that they never signed up for an online class or remote learning, and they've been doing this for a year, I think there was a very quick learning curve for those students because those students had to learn how to use Zoom or our phone device, right? Using mobile apps like Google Meet or a Canvas shell that the school uses for the content platform over there for looking at documents and slides and things like that, right? It was very different because most students that I've encountered for the past 7 years, past seven and a half years now that I've been teaching, they're used to having a physical copy of either documents like a PowerPoint or outlines or things like that. Now everything's on this platform called Canvas, and you have to navigate through the PDF reader and all this accessibility. And students had to navigate through that for the past year. And now that, well, I guess a little over a year now because we were all online since March, right? So since they got used to it, they kind of learned the technology quick. Aside from just social media, now they had to learn a lot of the tech tools and how to make their own videos because it's an online course. You know, when you're introducing someone, instead of just writing words, some instructors make them do videos, 60 seconds or less. Mm-hmm. And I think students have utilized that technology platform and media use to kind of interact, connect, and learn. So because of those platforms, I think once they get out face to face, they'll be able to do well in terms of now adapting to a space of face to face. But there's another problem I think with the younger generation is how you text communicate and then how you write a paper. Sometimes they do it as they're texting, right? They're writing papers like they're texting, they're communicating like they're texting. And I think some of those soft skills need to be done face to face. And I think that'll be a learning step for them. And when it comes to the older students, They don't like the online stuff. They like the face to face. I think they're a little more brave and they can't wait to just get out and start working, right? I think the younger students will maybe take their time, but they're able to adapt quickly to change. That's the positive note. And real estate is always changing. So I think it would be helpful to have the real estate industry connect with a lot of the schools and colleges to kind of have that informal mentorship partnership that's there, or maybe even connect with students to, when you have a class, to be a guest speaker and take that opportunity to guest speak for someone's class, even if it's on Zoom, and make those connections, right? Not knowing if the student's going to contact you, at least you're making those connections in-house on campuses. And that's what I've been trying to do for the past 7.5 years. When I'm teaching real estate, I always bring in industry people to the classroom. Now I bring it on Zoom.
What about race and gender? What are they saying about how they feel, how that has an impact as they enter the market? I know they're two different subjects. In some cases, one person can fit in both, but I know it's a loaded issue, or question, I should say. But what are you seeing right now?
Because of when I'm teaching principles or practice class in real estate, or or any other real estate class, we have to address the current issues on fair housing. We talk about fair housing in many of the real estate principles and real estate practice class. We have to. We go over that. Whether you go to a college class or whether you go to a real estate school through Century 21 or one of those private proprietor schools, they have to cover fair housing. The difference is, I think, in my classrooms and at the community colleges, a lot of the professors, we take the current code of ethics on being racist and not to be racist, when we bring those elements into the classroom. We also talk about the book Color of Law, right? Color of Law talks a lot about systemic and institutional racism that's there. Redlining, blockbusting, blockbusting is panic selling. And we describe scenarios of what happened. And students really kind of understand that part of fair housing because they or their families have experienced it in the past. And I think with the pandemic that happened and the racial justice and Black Lives Matter movement that has occurred is a good thing. Why? Because it opened our eyes to many of the injustices and systemic and institutional racism that's going on. We've seen it before George Floyd, believe it or not. And if you remember, which you do, the 2008 real estate market crash. Who was the hardest hit communities that lost their homes because of the negative amortization loans and the adjustable rate mortgages? Most of them were Black and brown communities. Asian communities were also hurt too. There was a study done at sometime 2009 or 2010 because they wanted to find out what was Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and everyone was doing. And all the banks were giving higher interest cost, negative amortization loans, and high adjustable rate mortgage loans that were complex that many consumers didn't understand because we all thought, professionals and consumers otherwise, thought the real estate would always go up and up and up. But that didn't happen. And when it didn't happen and when the market crashed, many Black communities lost their wealth, Black family households, Black money was gone, and who was the target? Black people, right? And then you fast forward to 2021, we have appraisal issues, right? There was this one case, I think everyone heard about it. We've discussed it at other groups, but a Black woman got her appraisal house at 135, it was under, and she fought it by getting other appraisal, but this time taking out all the pictures of herself as a Black woman, borrowed her sister's white husband and made him the face of the property, and almost like everything is whitewashed on the property, right? Essence magazine, Obama pictures, everything was gone. And the appraisal price came up almost 4 times the amount. So if that's not systemic and institutional racism right there with financing on appraisal towards Black families or Black communities, then I don't know what is. You can't deny that. And this is something you would have to talk about in appraisal class in real estate, right?
Mhm.
You would have to talk about that in real estate practice because it's known. People are talking about it more and more, right? Fair Housing Act of 1968. That's only about what, 53, 52,
Yes. Mhm.
52 years.
Mhm.
It's not that long ago. It's not that long ago. And we have to, whether we want to or not, as real estate professionals, we have to talk about it to the next generation of real estate professionals, right? If you care nothing else about your license, if your agents work under you and you're a broker and they screw up, they inadvertently discriminated against someone, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it doesn't matter. It's your license and the agent's license on the line, if that's the only thing you care about. But I would hope that the real estate community would care more about just money, but they care about people and communities. That would mean talking about affordable housing, right? So
Mhm.
we can make California more affordable. Otherwise, our trend will be that we're going to be glorified property managers. If you think about it, if you can't afford to live or you can't find a house and people are renting and we have more renters than homeowners,
Mhm.
our business is going to be going into property management, not really home sales or resales.
Yes, that is something. So yeah, so something will have to happen very quickly, and at the rate things are going now, it's going to take some time.
If you don't care about people of color and their communities, then, and you only care about money, sooner or later, that's going to affect you
Mhm.
as someone who's privileged and under high income status, right?
Okay, so before we go, we'd like to share a little bit about your story as it relates to gender and
Yeah, sure.
race.
So I all this time I was very afraid to share my story publicly. Um, I've always been only privately with people, but I always knew something was different about me growing up. I just didn't. I stayed busy. I really did, to avoid the issue about my gender identity, sexuality, and I just kept busy with either school or I kept busy with work or teaching, whatever it may be. And I just didn't talk about it. And I think when the pandemic hit and we were just sitting there, might as well just say it, right? Might as well be who I am and identify myself. Um, question of whether I'm gay or transgender, those are the things that, I didn't really think about or reflect about, but I knew it was different, right? And uh, understanding and learning about pronouns and gender identity, it really got me thinking, well, I got to be who I am, right? I can't be afraid. I mean, if I live through the pandemic, which, to be honest, Novelette, it seems like 60 years of racial inequality happened in 1 year. And I know that sounds bad to say that, but it seemed like if you're not white, you're not American. Therefore, we're gonna attack you. You know. So and with all the social media comments, and what really hurts is among the real estate professional in the community talking about anti-blackness, being anti-black, and making anti-black comments and memes. And you're a real estate broker or mortgage lender or things like that, right? Saying the Chinese virus or the China virus openly, overtly, and say those are just words. Um, it didn't hurt as much when it came from white folks, to be honest, because I've been used to the microaggressions from white people. I've been used to be called a chink and all that stuff from white people. But what hurt is from other communities of color, minorities, right? A lot of Hispanic people, Spanish speaking people that are Spanish for Trump, Latinos for Trump, or whatever they want to say they are for Trump. That Spanish community, that Spanish for Trump or Latinos for Trump, they are the ones that were making a lot of these anti-black comments, anti-Asian comments, making fun of the coronavirus by calling it the Kung flu, and they're heavy anti-maskers, and they are completely anti-LGBTQ, and they claim to be Christian. We're Christians, we love everybody, but we don't want women to have choice in their rights to their body, right? And that pissed me off a lot. And I've called out a lot of those real estate professionals. And what's even worse is some of those Latinos for Trumps that were spewing all that stuff on social media, and I captured it and I called them out and they blocked me on social media. They were also part of NAREP, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. Now, I don't know what chapter they specifically belong to, but it's embarrassing to call yourself part of this particular real estate institution, and you're going to be anti-Black, anti-immigrant, and anti-LGBTQ, and spew that hate, and then claim Christian all at the end just to add insult to injury. So I decided, screw it. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to speak my truth, say who I am. And if you're anti-LGBTQ, we don't need to do business. We don't need to be friends. And I specifically told a lot of the South Orange County real estate professionals, don't do business in Irvine, don't deal business with Asian folks, and do not deal with LGBTQ because you are anti-Asian and anti-LGBTQ. You're one of those, I don't see race, I'm not racist, I have an Asian friend, I have a gay friend. No, you're racist because you're not acknowledging your anti-Blackness or your privilege. You're saying things you're just talking out of your ass, basically, you know? And it's hurtful, right? I mean, it's really sad when you have real estate professionals who are a person of color tell me as an Asian person, that's not anti-Asian, and then explain to me what is considered anti-Asian. And I'm thinking, you're not Asian, you wouldn't know. Let's just be real. That's an anti-trans comment. Don't be transphobic. And then people would say those are just words. Or, you know, with the gender pronouns, I identify as she, her, and they would say, well, I identify as a toaster. And they say those things to piss transgender folks off because they're trying to be ridiculous and dismissing a lot of the trans lives that are out there that are telling you who they are and not being respectable, right? So I don't know. I hope that answers the question. I know that's long, but I know for me personally, I've been very concerned about my real estate brothers and sisters that are out there, that in particular that are Black and brown professionals. Only reason why is that, you know, you look at the news of Huntington Beach and the Proud Boys and all this other stuff. Ugh, it scares me. And if you're Black and brown and you're LGBTQ, it's almost like a triple threat. So if you're a Black woman, you got double jeopardy because you're a woman and you're a woman of color. And if you're LGBTQ, you got a triple threat. And that concerns me. And I always like to talk about those issues to make sure that people understand that. But I think the real estate will have to be systemically changed in terms of our professionalism. And I think a lot of lenders out there and real estate agents that think they could be racist and anti-Black and make those Facebook comments, they ought to be careful because it's not just a code of ethics, but you got people that will capture those and find who you are because you put it all over your profile, real estate professional, broker license or license number, this, and this. And with all that information on your Facebook and you're going to talk about anti-Blackness and be anti-Black with your comment, that's not right.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I appreciate that. And I should say, I don't know if I've told this before, but I'll tell you now, I'm very proud to call you my friend. And thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. And I've known you for 8 years, give or take. Yeah. And I've known you through the Global Forum. And
right. Yeah.
You know, I'm always glad to be connected to you. I think to be honest, I feel more connected to you this year because I think we have a common experience and we see things in a way where this isn't right, you know?
Right.
You know, this needs to change because it's 2021 now.
Mhm.
Still hasn't. So
Yeah, I agree. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it very much.
thank you.
All right. And till then, take care.
Thank you.